One of the great parts of having this channel is being able to see kind of success stories that people post in the comments. You know, people who've worked hard, they got to a certain place and they were like, this isn't it for me. I'm going somewhere else. You know, I'm going to seek a better life somewhere else. And I respect that because it takes strength. It takes courage to look at your surroundings around you and be like, this isn't for me. And I came across this comment from a successful engineer in Canada who kind of gave it all up to move to the Caribbean and really get his life back. So here went, I'm a Canadian civil engineer, 38 years old. I escaped the rat race, freezing temperatures in Canada in 2018, and I'm never going to go back there. Having grown up there, I used to think Canada was the best place to live until I experienced healthier foods and year-round sunshine in the Caribbean. I was making $97,000 a year in Vancouver, and that wasn't even enough to live a regular life with a kid and a girlfriend. So I sold everything and escaped the plantation, and I've been living a much happier life in the Caribbean. You know, this is a successful person. This is an engineer. This is somebody with a respected job who looked around him and said, you know, this isn't what I want. So it's not just, you know, it's too expensive here. And that is part of his story. But at the same time, it's you're looking around here and this isn't the life that I want. What people are focused on around here, it doesn't reflect me. This doesn't make me happy. And it can be something as simple as cold weather. And as you can see right now, we are getting pounded by snow. I hate this. I haven't been in a winter in years. I'm going through it now. So is the wife. But anyway, he goes, I got a job teaching English and I earned 35,000 euros a year. Roughly like $32,000, which is more than sufficient to sustain a simple life. 4 weeks vacation a year and public holidays, rent, fiber, utilities, 650 euros, like $700. A car that he paid for in cash. Healthcare is top-notch and free, and far better than the long waits that he had in Canada. Food is natural, non-GMO like in Canada, and he enjoys a 5-minute drive to sky blue waters for his son to play in. And of course, above all, no more shoveling snow or worrying about the ever-rising heating bills, because that is the thing. So it's great to see that. It's great to see that, you know, someone who was successful in the West, who made that decision to move, was actually able to go and make that kind of sacrifice. Because, you know, because the job that he took down there teaching English, which is probably much more rewarding in a way, because you're actually helping other people to develop, is able to afford him a far better life than he was living as a high earner in Canada. Because in the end, how much money you make, even if in a place that's in the cost of living, even the reputation that you have as being an engineer, you know, this is a position of status, that may not be enough. So it's okay to question where you're at, even when people tell you that you should be happy. It's okay to want to better your life. It's okay to want to leave to find a better place for you to be, especially when you're considering a life for your wife or kid. And I'm sure that wasn't an easy decision, because Canada is a place with a lot of opportunity, just like America is. It's a place with a lot of opportunity. But at the same time, imagine the health of your child when he grows up in a happy, healthy home, when he's not worried about, when he doesn't hear his parents fighting over finances, you know, when he's fed healthy food, when he's surrounded by family, when he has a nice, healthy community that's strong and has an identity with each other. So he says, thanks for educating folks, but your example is an education to people. And I thank you. But it doesn't just have to be kind of like what people would call a poorer country in the Caribbean. It could be what we consider a first world country, because not all first world countries are super expensive. Yes, there are certain parts of those countries that are really expensive, but there's certain parts of the country that are very affordable. Here we have somebody who moved to Japan from the US. He makes $30,000 a year. He rents a nice 5-year-old 1-bedroom apartment in a mid-sized city for $450 a month. He has national health insurance. Going to the dentist costs about $10. Medication costs $10 a month. He can afford vacations, save up for retirement, go anywhere at night without worrying about crime. Life is good. Because that's the thing. I mean, if you're broke in America, if you're living in a poor area in America, you have to deal with real crime, gunshot, you know, real criminals who don't mind going to prison, who don't mind using violence. That's the reality of living in America, that you have to be well off to be safe. If you're poor in America, life can be very dangerous depending on where you're at. But if you're poor in Japan, Japan has shockingly low crime rates, because they have a real sense of national identity. It's a safe culture. It's an incredibly high trust society. So the quality of life for people there is fantastic, even if they're not top earners, even if like $30,000 a year in America is a poverty wage, like I said. But In a place even like Japan, you can live well. You can still afford to go on vacation, save for retirement. It all depends on where you live. Yeah, you're probably not staying in the center of Tokyo, but do you want to live in the center of Tokyo? These are good places to visit. But smaller towns is where you're going to build a life. The villages are where you're going to build a life. Go to these rural areas. You don't have to say, I'm leaving America, I'm going to move to the middle of nowhere in the Philippines or Thailand or Vietnam. You can still go to nice places and have a good life. For me, my example was Greece. I love Greece. By God, I will end up in Greece again. And the better my channel does, the faster I'll be able to go there. But even off a wage of $30,000 a year in Japan and in Greece, you can live a great life. Even if you're around people in a lower socioeconomic class, it's still far safer than it is in America. I'd argue it's far safer than it is in the UK and even Canada in some places. And also, you have to remember that you're not paying an arm and a leg for things like health insurance in a lot of these countries. Japan, he says, $10 to go to the dentist. They have national health care. Imagine if you weren't paying thousands of dollars, $10,000 a year, a significant portion of your income just to go into insurance that you might not need. But at the same time, having health care is a necessity. It just, people are priced out of it in America. But in a place like Japan, in a place like the Caribbean, in a place like Greece, it's not something you necessarily have to worry about. In Greece, I just walk into a doctor and it cost me like $20 to $100 on whatever I needed. And if you go to the public hospitals, for an emergency, it's free. But do that in America. Imagine going to the ER in America and having to actually stay and go to an ICU. It can financially ruin somebody. The thing about America is there's little margin for error. The thing about America is if you make one small mistake, it can cost you everything. It can ruin your life. It can cause one small mistake, and that mistake can be going to the doctor when you need to. That can cost you your house. It can cost you your car, and that stress can break up families. It can ruin lives. People from the rest of the world who think that Americans are just bad at managing their money don't realize the fine edge that Americans walk on. Most Americans, the vast majority of Americans, are one bad decision away from living on the streets. That's why I say, take a job where you make $30,000 a year in Japan. Japan is a great place. Japan's a place people will love to go to. Find a way to navigate around the visa situation there because it can be a bit harsh, but you can do it. Plenty of people do it. Plenty of people who are in worse off situations than you watching right now have done that. Why can't you? Because if you're waiting for things to get cheaper in America, if you're waiting for things to get better in America, I got bad news for you. That's not going to happen anytime soon. As this one guy said, I watched a decent 3-bedroom house where I live in Maryland. It was about $300,000 in 2019. Now it's $650K in 2025. He's renting, but he's saving to go overseas. And if you're thinking that price is going to go down, I got bad news for you. It ain't. We're about to see house prices go back up again. They're dropping rates, which means people are going to start trying to go back in the market now because they've been waiting. They're like, oh, this is our opportunity. So not just for homes, but with personal loans. So what happens in a situation like this, when everyone's applying for the loans and everyone's getting approved, you get a buying frenzy in the market. Demand for homes goes up and prices skyrocket again, but incomes haven't moved at all, and the Fed starts printing money. We have the exact same thing that happened 4 years ago that doubled the prices of everything. So if you're waiting for things to turn around, my friend, it ain't going to happen. You can either move now or move out. You can either move on into a home now or you can move out of the country. Unless you've got a house coming into you in an inheritance, home ownership's out the window now. You're going to be a renter for life, and rent's going to keep going up because homeowners keep taking equity out of their homes every time the price goes up, and you're forced to pay the bill. And that's not going to stop anytime soon. There's no rent lock. People aren't, you're going to be paying that. You're going to be covering other people's property taxes. You're going to be covering other people's insurance on top of the insurance that you have to pay. So why not be like our friend who went to the Caribbean? Why not be like our friend who went to Japan? Although they make a fraction of the money that they used to make, they're living great lives. And they feel good. They feel secure. They feel good enough to raise their family in. What is the real reason of staying here any longer? If you have been thinking about making that move, it is time to do some research. It is time to make that move. There are avenues out. There are ways to make money. You don't have to be stuck working a job in America. You can have a remote job and work somewhere else. You can have a remote job and work somewhere else. You can become a digital nomad. You can become an entrepreneur. There's many avenues that you can have the kind of financial freedom to work in another place. And it doesn't just have to be out of America or the West. The economies in Asia are growing. Places like Thailand are becoming more and more expensive, and their wages are moving up. And in the cities, educated people, their wages are moving up to a place that might at some point be competitive with Western salaries in the near future. That presents you with an opportunity as an English speaker, someone who's fluent, to actually make a living in another place. Yes, you'll have to pay their taxes, but taxes in America are fairly high for the benefits that are severely lacking. So in the end, really, you just have to ask yourself what you want. But this is kind of the system that we built. This is what we have in America, and this is kind of what we have to deal with right now. And it might take a couple generations for things to change, but I don't have generations to wait. I have to make the same decisions that you have to make, for my own security and for the security of my family. And we have to be aggressive for these things. We can't prioritize the wants and ambitions of a nation that doesn't necessarily care about us. That if we were homeless, it would have no program for us. If you lost your house and your family was thrown out on the street, what would the state do for you, really? If you're a battered woman, there might be a shelter for you, but do they give you an avenue out? No. American homelessness is a crazy thing, and it really doesn't exist anywhere outside of America at the same level. Yes, there's homeless people everywhere, but I mean, it's become an industry in America. It's become an expectation. No one's shocked when they see a homeless person. The idea that in America we can have entire streets that are shut down, entire encampments of homeless people that rival the shanty towns that rival the Hoovervilles from the Great Depression, and argue to say that our economy is in a good place, that our country is moving in a good direction, you're either seriously out of touch or you are wildly gullible. And in a nation of immature, naive people, I'm leaning on gullible or just in denial. So take control of your life. So take control of your life like these people did. Don't hold yourself back. There's great things out there. You just got to go find them. Thanks for stopping by.